How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Cooking with Rita and Aiden. Today we have a delicious treat for you guys. Spring is in the air. It is Lent season. We're getting ready for Easter, and what better time to make some delicious hot cross buns. So today we are making our regular traditional hot cross buns, and we're also making some with raisins. So we're gonna make a large batch and then we're gonna split it in two. So let's get started. You're gonna need some basic ingredients like your flour, some milk, some yeast. You're also gonna need some nutmeg, cinnamon, spice, but let's get going with our flour and then we'll add in the layers of spices as we go along, and we could do this together. So for this batch, each batch is gonna have about 12 buns. So we're gonna need 7 cups of flour. Let's start with our measuring cup. Can you count? And 7. All right, let's put this aside and out of our way. And get some sugar. Going to need 1 cup, and I'm using granulated sugar. Our sugar don't want to come out. Set this aside, and we're going to go ahead and put our sugar right into our batter. Then I have some cinnamon. We're going to do 1 teaspoon each. Find the right. Let's do that over. All right, next we have some cinnamon. I have some ground cinnamon. We're going to do 1 teaspoon. So if you're making half a batch, you would want to use half a teaspoon, or half of all of the ingredients, I should say. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of allspice, which is full of flavor, rich, bold flavors. And then we're going to need some fresh nutmeg that we're going to grate directly in here. So let me grab my grater. And you're going to need about a teaspoon to 3/4 to a teaspoon of nutmeg, because it's very strong and it could be overpowering. So you could control how much you want to put in. I personally love the taste of nutmeg, so I like to add a little extra in my desserts or baking. Add a little bit more to go. And that should be it for that. Let's set this aside. And grab another cup. Okay, and let's not forget our salt. We're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt as well. Oh, that's a half. Now it's time to add in our main ingredients, which is going to be the instant yeast. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon and a half. Now you could use the instant, or you could use activated. With instant yeast, it goes directly into your dry ingredients. You don't need to put it in warm water or milk and let it sit for a bit. Once we add in our wet ingredients, it's going to get activated. So just mix all of this up. And then we're going to set it aside and then move on to gathering all of our wet ingredients. All right, for our wet ingredients, we're going to need half a cup of sour cream. I'm just going to eyeball our sour cream and set this aside. And then we have 8 tablespoons of butter, which I zapped in the microwave for like 20 seconds, so it's like room temperature. And we want to get all of that in there. I'm just using unsalted butter. Let's set that aside. We have 1 cup of milk. And we need some essence or vanilla extract. I'm using a Caribbean mix essence because I like all those spices or flavors in there. And I'm just gonna eyeball about a tablespoon. And then we want to just give this a quick mix. And our sour cream is still a little chill, and so is our butter. But that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and put this in the microwave and zap it for another 30 seconds so everything could be warm when we add it into our flour. So let's get this in the microwave. For 30 seconds. All right, I think our wet ingredients is ready. And it does feel nice and warm, but I have to admit I did make a mistake. We are making double the batch of this recipe, so I needed 2 cups of milk, not 1. So we're gonna go ahead and add another cup of milk in here. So I'm using a low-fat milk, but you could use any milk that you have, which is perfectly fine. And that should be good. So this is actually quite warm, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of our milk and just give it a quick stir so it's mixed in with everything else. Okay. And now it's time to move on to getting all of these ingredients into our mixer. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the flour in before I put it on the stand. So this is quite a bit of flour. I'm going to place my hand on the side so we don't lose any. Oops. And I think we're good. That worked out better than I thought. Let's put that aside. Okay, so now it's time to get mixing. Let's close that and get this attached. Okay, make sure you lock your mixer. Well, and this, I'm using my mixer, but you could do this by hand. All right, now that our flour is in, our mixer is locked in, it's time to slowly add in some of our wet ingredients. I'm gonna add half of it and then start it. I'm gonna start it on 1. So it's going a little bit while I pour in our wet ingredients. Oops. Okay. Well, that is not working out well. So I think I'm gonna go into our cup. This way we could pour better. Okay, now that we're back on track, we have our ingredients perfectly in a cup where we could pour and not make a mess. So let's go back on and we're gonna slowly pour. Oh. Okay, so we're gonna let that go for a minute and then we'll add the rest in. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this off and open it and add in the rest of our ingredients. We want everything in there. Just want to give it a quick scrape, make sure we got everything. And then we mix again. Make sure if you're using your mixer that you lock. Okay, and then we turn this back on, and I'm gonna move the speed up a little to like a number 3 or 4. And it's a nice sticky consistency, and that's what we're looking for. Too fast is not working out very well. You do have to have some patience when making this because there's a lot of steps to it, and a little bit of patience goes a long way. All right, I think this is good. So what I'm gonna do at this point is take out half of it. Okay, let's move some of this down. For our plain bun, and then we're gonna add in our raisin and figs for the next batch. I'm just gonna remove this for just a second. I'm gonna use a heavier spoon to take out half of. So I think that's about half. So we're gonna sit. In the rest of our dough, I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of dry figs and a 1/2 cup of dry raisin. Oops, I want all of it in there. Let's get our mixer back on. Make sure we close everything, and then we mix again for another minute or 2 so all of the raisin and figs get incorporated in our dough. All right, I think this is looking good. Take everything off. We could remove this because we're finished with it. All right, so now that that's finished, we are gonna move some stuff out of the way. I'm gonna give my counter a quick little wipe here. And now we need to knead this a little further. All right, we're gonna grab some flour and get this sprinkle on our counter. And then we're gonna get one of our batch out. I'm gonna start with the raisin batch. Set that aside. And then we just need to knead this in just like you would for a bread. So we just wanna roll and knead it in. Make sure you have enough flour on your board so you're not sticking. And you could keep adding flour if you need to. I think we have right now, so like we're looking for that nice springing consistency, which is perfect right there. I'm gonna go ahead and put a squirt of olive oil into our bowl. You could use a different oil if you want to, just so it's not sticking, and give that a quick little rub there. And then our dough goes directly in the bowl, and we're gonna cover this up. I'm gonna set it aside for now while we work on the next batch. First, you want to get some flour down again. Make sure your dough is not sticking, and get everything out. And we knead again. I do think we have more of our raisin. I didn't do an even split because this batch is a little smaller, but that's okay. The point is to show you guys how to make, you know, how you could make one batch of dough and you could split it however way you want, and you could add in whatever ingredients, you know, you like and prefer. We've always made just raisin in our bun, and this time I added in some dry figs in there. So a little change. Normally on Good Friday though, the batch that we will make for that day is just gonna be plain with nothing inside of it. Just gotta put some mussel in there, and so let's do the test. Is it gonna spring back? Let's see. And it did. So I think this is good as well. We're gonna sit this, oh, we need our oil. We need our oil. And this goes directly in, and then we're gonna cover this up and put it in a warm area for about an hour, hour and a half before we move on to the next step. Okay, that's covered. I'm also gonna put a towel over it. And I'm gonna actually sit it in the oven for now. Just so it's in a warm space, and it's gonna rise a lot faster or better. I'm gonna do the same with this. Cover it really tight. And we're gonna put a towel on this as well. And then into the oven. All right, well that is it for this part of it. We're gonna let that do its thing, and then we'll check back in a little bit. All right, it's been about an hour and 45 minutes, and I believe our dough is rised and ready for us. So let's go ahead and take them out of our oven where I had them sitting. I have to say I did warm my oven up a little tad bit and then shut it off and left the bowls in there just so it could help the rising process. And these are looking good. Let's go ahead and remove our saran wrap. All right, so we're gonna start with the plain dough first and get these assembled before we move on to our raisin batch. And Jay is actually here, and he's gonna be helping me with preparing our pans and getting our portion and rolling out the dough and all, or making the bun. So I'm gonna start with this. Again, my counter is clean. I'm gonna lay out a little bit of flour, even though I don't think we need much flour for this part, but just a little, just so it doesn't stick. And then this is gonna go directly on our board. Stack those. And with this part, you don't need to really knead your dough anymore. It does have a lot of air in it right now, so we're gonna press it in a little, but we don't need to really knead it. So keep that in mind. We're gonna cut it, and then once we shape it, that's gonna be, I guess, considered the kneading part of it. But right now, you don't need to do anything. All right, let's get a cutter. And Jay, would you mind helping me get our pan ready? I'm just gonna cut in half. And then we're probably gonna get 10 out of this instead of 12 like I wanted to. So just average your cuts. That's how I always do everything, is average. Which sometimes is not the best way, but it works for me. I mean, this is all home cooked. We're not, you know, looking for perfection in anything. And then this one is kind of big, so we're gonna cut that one in half. All right, so for this, with making the bun, all you need to do is pick your piece up. You could put it in the palm of your hand, and then we're gonna take the corners and pinch it together. So we're pinching the corners, and basically you get like a nice ball. If it's not, then you could always, you know, move it around on your table with your palm down like so, and then you could also get that perfect ball that we're looking for. You think? And you just repeat the process. I'm gonna set that aside. So again, you take your corners and you pinch them together, and then you could also take your hand and just grab each corners and pinch all at once. You could, you know, roll it on your both hands together like so, and you could also go back on the table and roll it here. Just perfect. Pan number 1 is ready. Thank you, Aiden. All right, so for this batch, we have 10 bun that we were able to make out of it. They are all rolled out. I'm just gonna assemble them in our pan. Let's see. We're probably doing a lot better, so keep them perfectly spaced out, but that's okay. Space out a little bit more. Set it in the oven. And then we move on to our next batch. They're so soft. And I'm just gonna kind of roll this out this way. This way I have like a little better, when I cut it, it's gonna cut a little bit better versus the triangle way that I did the first batch. Try to get some more even cuts. That's about good. We're gonna try to get some even cuts. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have 10 even cuts again. So now that my pan is ready, I'm gonna bring it over here, and we're gonna go ahead and start rolling and layer them in. Jay, do you wanna help me to roll these out, buddy?
Sure.
All right, so we could get some perfect roll. Again, same concept. You wanna make sure you grab it, pinch it in your hand, pinch, or put it in your palm of your hand, pinch the corners, and then you could work it in like so, or Jay's gonna show you the perfect way to roll it out or to get that nice circle on the table. Go ahead and demonstrate for us, Jay. And then, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna grab some water while you continue to roll. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, Jay, you did an awesome job, and these are looking so good. Perfect.
Have space for all of them.
Awesome. You did an amazing job. One of them is going to be 4, so to help me. All right, nice. Perfect. So let's cover this again, and we're going to place it in my warm space in the oven for another 20 to 30 minutes or so. We're going to keep an eye on them for it to raise, and then it will be time for the next step. All right, guys, so for the next step of our cross buns recipe, we're going to need to make a little bit of paste for our crosses. So I have a 1/4 cup of flour, and this is really simple. All we're going to do is add some warm water to it, and I'm going to eyeball the water and then add more as I need, and then pretty much just whisk it all together. So already I know I need more water, so I'm going to add a little bit more. You don't want it to be too runny, but it doesn't need to be too stiff either. Enough that so you could put it in a piping bag and make your crosses. And you want a nice runny consistency, just like this. So when you're piping it onto your bun, it sticks. And all I'm using is a regular Ziploc bag. Now we're going to set that aside. Let's go ahead and get our rolls out. They've been sitting in the oven where it's a little warm. Oh, these are good. These are okay. So I'm going to go ahead and clip a tiny hole on our bag to get started. It's on. I want to make sure that I don't spill everywhere. So I'm going to start with one. Let's start right here. So all you're going to do is, I'm going to go down straight from one end to the next. And I'm going to continue so they all could have a straight line. And my hand is so shaky. And then next, I'm going to do the next row, and then we're going to go the other way around. Or you could do them individually, one by one, if you'd like as well. Definitely need a steady hand for this. I want to control the size of the bag because I think I made the hole a little bit too big, but let's do that one. These are not stacked back to back, so we have to do them one at a time. Another way to do this as well, if you don't want to use a paste like I'm using, you could also bake them just the way it is, like without putting a cross. And then when you come out of the oven, then you could make a glaze and put it over it as your cross, which is what my mother-in-law normally do. But I wanted to try with the paste because she never uses the paste. And I think when you bake it with the paste on there, it just leaves like a perfect cross. Ooh. And one more. And we have extras, which we don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and toss these. All right. So now that all of our crosses are on, I have the oven warming up on 360 degrees. We're going to bake these for about 25 minutes or so. So normally you would glaze your buns first before you put it in the oven. I purposely did not do that because I wanted to put the paste on first with the cross signs. I'm gonna let it bake for like 10 minutes or so, pull them back out, then glaze them and finish them up back in the oven. So let's go ahead and get this in and let it do its thing. All right, so we let that bake for 10 minutes and then pull it back out. And we're gently gonna glaze it with some warm milk, butter, and brown sugar. And you wanna just make sure everywhere is coated all the way around. We did both batches and put it back in very quickly. All right, guys, our buns is looking brown and perfectly cooked. Perfectly cooked. Our cross paste, however, kind of disappear into the bun, but that's okay. I mean, you could still see it, and this is why we made this delicious icing frosting that we're gonna drizzle on there on top of the paste sign, and make our cross, which I was gonna do anyways on top of the paste, but kind of disappointed that I can't see those perfect cross that we made, but it's okay. It's no big deal. It's still gonna be soft and perfectly cooked on the inside, and that's all that matters. The same way we did our paste, the same way we made the cross with putting the paste in a Ziploc bag, is the same way we're gonna do the icing, but these are super hot, so we need to let them sit and cool down for a bit before we could do that. So let's just give them some time to cool down and then we'll move on. Where'd it go? All right, guys, so our buns have been cooling down for a bit. They are nice and they're still warm, but not hot. Warm enough where we could pipe our frosting on here, and I shouldn't say frosting, it's more of a icing glaze. So we're gonna pipe it over our previous cross shape that we made. I went ahead and mixed some confetti sugar and a teaspoon of water together to get this concoction. And I made sure this time to put a very tiny hole on my bag. I'm using a Ziploc again, just so I could control, because when we piped the first time, I had, the hole was way too big. So I want to make sure that I'm controlling this a lot better this time. Okay, I'm going to pipe it directly over the previous cross. So let's start with this one here, and I'm going to go crossway. And then we would want to go and then repeat the process. Here. So I think the reason why our crosses with the paste didn't pop through the way I was expecting it to, it's because I did not glaze it with our milk and butter before putting the paste on. And this is our plain. This does not have to be perfect. You could even get your kids involved and have everybody doing it together. It's a fun little thing to do. We actually have our nephews here today, but they're out playing. Of course, as I get to the end, the crosses are starting to look more perfect because you kind of get used to it a little. All right, guys, these are looking delicious. They smell even more delicious in this kitchen. The aromas is just so fragrant with all those spices from the nutmeg, the cinnamon, the allspice. As you could see, it is nice and fluffy. It just springs back. We could see our raisin and figs inside of it. The best part out of all of this hard work is just trying the product at the end. So let's take a big bite. So soft on the inside, it's so warm. We could taste the nutmeg and the allspice and all of those flavors. Delicious. All right, I know Aiden is not gonna eat those because they have raisin in it, but he's definitely gonna eat the plain ones. All right, let's open up one of the plain bun. And it's also very soft. It is a little sticky on the top because of the glaze that we put on it, but so soft and moist and perfect. Jay, I have the perfect bite for you, my love. There we go. I'm gonna continue on the raisin and fig cross buns. With that being said, I wanna say thank you for watching this video, for staying through to the end. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone that may wanna try this recipe. We have lots of other recipes available. If you wanna check some out, I'm gonna link another video for you guys. But until next time, have a good one, and we'll see you later.